Hi everybody, Steve Carson here on the bow of the Ocean Odyssey, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how do you hook your bait. Pretty basic stuff, but it's important that you do it right because a well-presented live bait is going to catch you more fish. So I'm going to show you a couple different styles. First, and maybe most important, is anytime you're using a sinker, little sinker, big sinker, doesn't matter, you're going to be using one of these two methods. You can call it nose hooking, which is across the bridge of the nose, or some people do like to use the chin hooking style, which is up through the chin and out through the nose. But anytime you're using a sinker, no matter what size, large or small, you're going to be using that. And by the way, this is a mackerel, but that also applies to sardines or anchovies. So, and those are your most common baits. Occasionally you'll see some other species, but they're not common enough that we're going to talk about them. Probably the most interesting one is, especially when you're fishing bluefin tuna, okay? And that is up here what they either call collar hooking or shoulder hooking. Excuse me, that's not collar hooking, that's shoulder hooking. And back in the old days, they used to call it yoke hooking, Y-O-K-E, like the yoke of an oxen. And what that does is when you've got bluefin tuna and they're not near the boat, they're maybe 50 or 100 yards away from the boat, and you want to get that bait to swim away, and that's the style that you use, because now what happens is that hook folds down like that, and the bait can swim with the most possible power and get away from the boat. Also, he stays near the surface, so the bluefin tuna is looking up, and he's not seeing the hook. And we all know that bluefin tuna can be very, very finicky about seeing the hook. So that's an important one to remember. They generally call that shoulder hooking. One that I love to use when the bluefin tuna are a little bit closer to the boat, and also if they're down a little bit, but you don't want to use a sinker, because remember with a sinker you're going to use one of these two methods. That's what they call belly hooking. Now this is a mackerel, and of course it's not a real one. So on the sardine, right about here where that hook is, there are two little fins, two little bitty fins, and right underneath those fins is a little bone, just like the wishbone on a chicken or a turkey. That's probably the strongest part of the entire sardine's body. So you hook them that way, and that sardine will swim downward very fast. He won't live as long as if you use any of these methods, but he will dive down fast. So if you see people casting out near the boat, getting a bite right away, or the bluefin tuna are down a little bit, that's going to be the method that you want to use. Occasionally people, primarily for bass fishing, will use this method back here, but the problem with this is there's really no part of the bait fish's body that's very strong here. So again, I much prefer the belly hooking right here, again, where those two little fins are. That's a very, very strong part of the bait's body, and those methods are going to catch you more fish. So we'll see you on the water.